Nvidia is a fun one from a trading standpoint, but it's also one too that, it ran up so much from 2016 all the way up until last year for a reason too. It was tied to crypto mining, it was tied to gaming. What are you guys seeing in your data that supports kind of like this sell-off that we've seen, or has it been overdone?
We think the sell-off's been overdone. A lot of the sell-off is a result of expectations of weakness in data centers and data center sales. And we really don't have much insight into that at LikeFolio. We're a consumer-driven company. We take a look at what people are saying on Main Street about what they're buying in terms of products. So on the enterprise side, we don't have that much insight, but what we can say going into this report is that Nvidia has seen a really, really nice spike in purchase intent mentions for their consumer-facing products, and that means essentially gaming systems. And so we see that in PCs and gaming systems, very explosive, the biggest quarterly purchase intent mention bar we've ever seen for the company. And so we think that there's a real potential for upside surprise. We think that Wall Street has already kind of priced in this data center softness, and we think on the gaming and PC side of things, graphics-wise, Nvidia's set to surprise to the upside.
Andy, all I know about Nvidia is from a trading perspective and movement, it moves, right? And it likes to go for big numbers. And I'm looking at a market maker move, a one-day expected move of 10 bucks. 10 bucks, we talk about it on this show a lot, the eyeball test. It seems like this stock could move a lot more than 10 bucks on an earnings move. That right there, but what your guys, I've never seen you circle something in red like you did there for Nvidia. That seems like a pretty big accent on what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, the reason I circle is it's so surprising to see that much of a jump in purchase intent mentions for something that's kind of a staple, a graphics card or a semiconductor. It's really not that exciting of a product, but people are talking about it more and more. It tells us, it goes right along with kind of a macro theme we're seeing. The gaming industry is hot, and Nvidia is right in the right spot for that. So whatever's happening on the data center side, I think that story's been told, and that has impacted the stock. And so the upside surprise could come on the consumer-driven side, and that's where we see very strong growth for Nvidia.
Well, Andy, I think that you're exactly right, because when I was looking on Twitter, I didn't see people talking about the China concerns or talking about the data center weakness really from Intel. And granted, while I did see people mentioning that, I saw more users excited about the dip in price as an opportunity to buy into Nvidia, because a lot of people love their product. Their GPUs, which makes up most of their revenue, right? They are for high-end graphics and for gamers. I don't think my computer has a GPU because I'm not a gamer, so looking on Twitter, I didn't totally understand what everyone was excited about, but people definitely are excited about.
Yeah, and pulling up just to really quickly throw context in, everyone mentions the GPUs. Based off our company profile on Thinkorswim, 89.4% of the revenue for Nvidia based off the Trefis data. So the GPUs is more than just a big part of the revenue. To me, that's all of it. Andy, when you're looking at this too, you guys are looking at also the gaming sector as well. We just got earnings announcements from EA. We just got them from Activision. We just got them from Take-Two. All three of those companies, with the exception of maybe Blizzard Activision, were pretty strong reports in terms of how the market took those results and what they've done with the stock prices. Does that also tie in kind of to what you're seeing with Nvidia and the gaming sector really being potentially a boon for the stock?
Oh yeah, there's a real tailwind for the gaming sector. A lot of it's driven by Twitch. The fact that people watch each other play video games is amazing to me, but they do, and they do in record numbers month after month. It's more and more people doing that, and that creates interest in the sector, that creates interest in the products, and that creates demand for Nvidia chips, GPUs. So I think that is a major tailwind. There's softness in data centers, but look, I mean, how permanent can that be? I mean, it's not like people are saying, all right, that's all the data centers we're ever going to need. What they're saying is we may have overbuilt for a little while. But and so there's some softness temporarily. I think that sector comes back quickly and easily. But on the consumer side, Nvidia is dominating. Its graphics cards are best in the business. And hey, if crypto comes back, there's a whole mining business that could be resurged again. And so, I think from here, the bullish case for Nvidia is pretty clear. If they do happen to miss and move lower, that's definitely a time I'll be looking to pounce on some shares.
So I have a tweet that talks to the bullish case of Nvidia. It's from Market Wizard 87, who says about Nvidia, he's happy to buy today into this fear. It'll be a long add to their retirement account. I believe AI and machine learning are the tech of the future, and they all require Nvidia. I would love to see a gap down to 130 post earnings, or I would buy more. Just don't think we will get that chance. But that gap down we saw in Intel for sure.
Andy, this is the exact sentiment that you just reflected in what you just said right before. So, I mean, that ties in perfectly. But you make a good point about the data center side of the business because, the market's already discounted the stock from well into the, roughly 290 down to 125. You saw the recovery, but post Intel's guidance, post some other, semiconductor news, they've hit Nvidia before they've even had a chance to talk about their own company.
That's exactly right. And I think, there's always a chance that you've hit a company in terms of, sort of selling the sector. I think that there's always a chance that you hit one participant in a sell the sector type of move a little too hard. And most of the time, that's the sector leader, that's the quality leader, and that's Nvidia.
So we have another tweet from our very own Oliver Rennick, who says, I know, will be interesting to see if Nvidia discusses crypto and Bitcoin in its earnings call. Is there room for old or new miners to re-enter, or is mining now controlled by those who survived the crash through 6,000? And even if so, would it be enough to make a dent in inventory?
Andy, this again kind of ties into what you're saying about that being a potential tailwind to this company if it does turn around. But Oliver talking about semiconductors is really not something that I would have expected to have seen.
Gaming, though, yes.
How did he get on this show?
I think we've given Oliver enough airtime.
Exactly.
I'll say this. I don't think Nvidia is going to come out and say anything really big about crypto. I think it's way too early for that. The Chinese seem to be buying up Bitcoin right now because their banks are shutting off some access to cash. But, what Nvidia can say is what's going on in the gaming side. I think that's very strong. They'll be hit with some really hard questions on the data center side, and I think appropriately so. But if that side of the business is soft enough and you get a massive dip in Nvidia again, I think it's a great opportunity long term. And honestly, I'm bullish going into earnings just as a trade.